Okay, what is Agile? I pulled this definition out of Wikipedia. I won't read the whole thing, but I think it was a very good definition. Somebody obviously gave a lot of thought to it. It picks up a lot of the elements of Agile. I especially love the stuff about teamwork, self-organization, and accountability. Personally, I think of Agile as more of a management approach than a technical approach. I think it's very effective at that. Rapid delivery, excellent, high-quality software, aligning development with customer needs. I think you all see the parallels there. The Agile Manifesto, these are, most of you probably read these. I won't attempt to read these off. But again, a lot of these have real similarities to the things that Deming taught. So the commonalities that when I was doing this comparison that I came up with were one, that both are based on principles. And I think that's very important because a lot of times Agile is accused of not being principled. And that's actually not at all true. You know, it follows from those manifesto principles. Aligning to customer needs, involving your stakeholders with regular timely delivery of product. Both approaches say that. They both value effectiveness. Very important. So they have a cyclical approach, adaptive learning, continuous improvement. Excellent stuff. They both value the technical, the teamwork, sustainability, and being friendly to human beings. So I think, you know, we easily agree on all of those. Now I'm going to get into the section that might be a little more controversial, and it's no intent here when I highlight what I see as differences to say that one is good and the other is bad. In fact, I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to say that I think we need to combine elements of both of them. Okay, so, but this is one person's view, and if you have different views, I would love to hear them afterwards. So, I see a big difference in the issue of optimization. With Lean, Deming, as we said, he said you have to build up what he called profound knowledge up front if you're going to obtain an optimized system. And this is the quote from Deming, because he says that if you don't have profound knowledge, that you end up optimizing one part, but elsewhere loses out. In fact, that graph is right out of one of his seminars. And it shows, you know, improving one part and then having two parts degrade as a result. So in the yellow boxes, I show some tools that are used in Lean and then also in Agile below to achieve these goals. So domain-oriented design is one tool that's used in Lean. Change-driven design, by that, what I mean is that at the very beginning, you do analysis to anticipate how the system might change over its life cycle, or even in future iterations, follow-ons to the system. And then design in such a way that if and when those things happen, they're easy to account for. Now, with Agile, there is a philosophical belief that it will happen naturally as a result of emergent behavior. How many are familiar with the phrase emergent behavior? Okay. The idea of emergent behavior is that when, it's like a flock of birds is the example that I read in some of the Agile literature, is that you take an individual bird, it acts in a certain way when it's by itself. When you put it with other birds and it flocks, there's a different behavior. So that behavior emerges in the circumstances that you put the birds into. The idea here in Agile is that as you conduct the project, as you begin from where you're at and with your limited knowledge and proceed, that what will naturally happen is that you'll end up with an optimized design. Okay, so it's sort of an article of faith. It's an axiom for the approach. And a technique that's used in Agile for that is refactoring. So each cycle you're refactoring as you learn more and more and more about your customer. So I think that's a distinct contrast because, you know, in the Deming view, you have to learn a lot up front. You have to intentionally go out and gather a lot of information. In the Agile approach, you will learn it as you go. Level that you focus at. In the Lean world, there's this great emphasis on the enterprise as a whole and systems of systems. So again, the Deming quote here is that what's most important is not so much the performance of an individual component, it's how does it contribute to the whole. Some techniques that are used here are one's called Hoshin-Kanri, which is also called policy deployment. And it's a way of using matrices to take top goals for the enterprise and deploy them down into projects. So projects, it becomes a constraint on projects, if you will. Quality function deployment is another matrix-based technique for then taking those and other concerns and deploying them right down to the point that you produce your product. Now, the Agile stuff that I have seen to this point is more oriented towards individual projects and systems. Now, the level is moving up, so you have things like extreme modeling, which is a feeder into extreme programming. You apply a similar process to XP to produce models, which are higher level. You have Scrum teams, you have scrums of scrums, so you can kind of get a little hierarchical layering in a bigger type project. And then the participation of business, which is called out in the manifesto, also tends to center the Agile world a little, at least more towards the enterprise. Verification and validation. In Lean, you have sort of two basic ideas that are going on. One is to do things right the first time. The other is also to evolve. So, for instance, in Lean, you identify what could possibly go wrong up front, and then you go about to proactively make it impossible for that to happen. And for instance, in my own work, that was a huge thing. A lot of the tools and so forth that we used were designed to make it impossible for the software development team to make certain kinds of mistakes. And we just eliminated them before they ever happened. Now, the idea here, and Deming was adamant on this, is that you minimize the amount of testing and inspection you do. That's just something you do as a sort of a sample at the end to verify that what you did was correct as you went along. And so that principle has been applied in automobile manufacturers, also applied in chip, processing chips and so forth, memory chips. A number of the techniques that are used here, the first three are techniques, as you'll see in the Lean literature. Poka-yoke is called, it means mistake proofing, in other words, preventing it in the first place. Jidoka is about recognizing and fixing things quickly. Automation is about sort of using machines to catch the defects and humans to fix them intelligently. In the software world, you'll see techniques like clean room, where there's a big emphasis on producing it right in the first place, and on formal methods. The Agile idea, again, coming out of the idea of emergent behavior, is that you evolve to having a right system. So you start by coming up with a set of tests. It's test-driven development, for instance. And later on, you're going to run all of those tests. And so refactoring is used to promote that evolution. Variation in Lean, you treat the business as a process, and then you apply methods to determine, well, how is the business actually going, and what do I need to do to improve it? The control chart is a method for that. Now, it may be, and I'm happy to be corrected on this, that Agile has something that is analogous to that. I just haven't run across it if it does.